Rolling.
Quietly.
Pick 3. See, Mark. A.B. Mark.
So,
This finger has a Rob's camera. Set.
action.
When you're a stone's throw away from Hollywood, it can feel like you're on the D list or the E list or the C list, maybe the V list. Ooh. But if you're not on the A list, we know you're on the Z list. So this is Z-listers. Today we're going to be talking about Kathryn Bigelow, first woman to win Oscar for
2 Oscars.
2 Oscars,
Yeah.
and first female director to win the Oscar. We're at a table full of women.
Except for one.
No.
We're at a table full of women. Come on, ladies. Women. I'm with y'all for the people.
Do you feel comfortable right now?
No.
Do you
I feel great. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we
good.
make you feel welcome?
I feel at home. I feel
Great.
at home. Yeah.
Great.
I feel at home.
Great.
My mother texted me and asked what time I'm going to be home, so
Yeah.
I still have women in my life that control me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know
It's
the game.
interesting that the women are outnumbering the men at this table because the
smart.
industry itself always seems to be the opposite, surrounded
Especially,
by men. So it's really wonderful to focus on a female director
Yeah.
who has cracked
Yeah.
that shell, so to speak, and
Yeah.
made her. And most of the projects that she has brought to us to explore are based on violence and crime,
Yeah.
which is interesting. It's not a safe zone.
There's such masculine films
Yeah.
by a female director. It's
Right.
like something that you know.
I feel like she's our like a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like I feel like she has, in proving herself in her career, has been very. She's led the way for us, and she's been like the team captain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, there are other female directors, but by her winning 2 Oscars, finally as a female for Best Director and Best Picture, that says something. You know, she's cracked that ceiling.
Yeah. Her first like real breakthrough film was
Was Hurt Locker.
yeah. No, not Her
Point-
Locker.
Point-
No,
was
Point Break.
Break.
Yeah.
Point Break was her first. Was what made her known, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? But then, as I understand it, that movie made money in the box office, and then her next movie completely flopped in the box office. Strange Days,
Yeah.
Yeah,
which led her to independently produce The Hurt Locker. So at the point when she went into The Hurt Locker, she wasn't being supported by the film community because, in a sense, she hadn't. I don't know. She hadn't broken the code yet. I don't know.
Right.
She did it on her own terms.
Well, Strange Dates was also written by James Cameron, her then husband.
Right.
So we'll blame him for the failure. Maybe. I don't know.
Like something wasn't working. And
Yeah, maybe a failure of teamwork. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? We can't speculate. Yes, we can.
I mean, both being directors, that's got to be tough. Man.
Yeah.
You know, coming home with those. I mean, like when I
Did
get
they
up-
dual direct Strange Days?
No,
I
I
don't
was
think
just
so.
saying more of like the competitive nature of it, I guess you could say. Like, you know, I'm so glad my wife is not an actress, you know, because if she was working, I'd be like, you know what I mean? Like, I just couldn't imagine coming home as directors and
Well,
just,
she wouldn't be. Your wife would, as an actor, wouldn't be competing against you.
No, I'm not saying like competition. I'm saying it's more of it. bringing that world, when you come off of set, when you get off of set, it's almost like the surreal high that you get. Like you've been working 12, 15-hour days, you're tired, and then you're ready to get home, and then all of a sudden you wake up again because you have you have so much going on in your mind. I just can't imagine those two minds coming home at the end of a long day and just like.
Well, few people know that Titanic was actually about their relationship.
Oh, dang. Let that relationship go when Leo dies.
Yeah.
She walked away with the Oscar.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, so where was the part where Rose walks away with the Oscar?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when Kathryn Bigelow did win her first Oscar for Best Director and for Best Film, she was competing against James Cameron, who I believe at the time was her ex-husband.
Right.
Yeah. Who also made Avatar, which we're on the Z list. We can say it. It was a bad movie.
Yeah, we can say. Yeah, I mean, I watched Avatar just for the CGI effects,
Which honestly that was super groundbreaking. Like the effects for these were groundbreaking, and he had so much money at his disposal to make it a great movie. Yeah. And it's just really disappointing.
And she walks away with I know she's just like she probably was like, yes,
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's probably texting.
She won
that
the
night,
Super Bowl against her ex-husband.
The quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that had to burn with his ego, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like how you pulled that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Comes back. Yeah.
Well, it seems that she's made a little niche for herself with the topics that she talks about, even with the most recent short project that she released, I Am Not a Weapon, I Am Not a Secret Weapon, telling the story about the Islamic State in Nigeria and the women who have been stolen, kidnapped, and taken.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And she did a short film talking about
I saw it. It was a short film,
to be so brave, to as a director, what do you do to pull that truth out of your on camera people? No, I wouldn't say they were actors. They were real. These were their real stories. So how do you do that? How do you pull that out of people, especially when you're talking about violence and crime and experiences that have hurt you or stolen something from you? It's interesting. Probably being a female. I'm sorry, no offense, but we're wired in a way to pull out that empathy.
It's her. I think as female directors, it's allowing that actor. You're giving the actor that safe space to be in that, or to open up to whatever emotions affect the character.
Right, but I mean, she's tackling all these more masculine topics, for lack of a better word, and it's aggressive and it's ambitious, and she's a woman who is trying to prove that she can talk about whatever she wants and can do it very artfully. She has to prove she's in that, on the front lines in terms of proving that women can direct. Her versus, say, like a Jill Soloway, who has been very vocal about trying to build a community on set, and we're going to make sure that everybody feels like they have a safe space throughout the filming event. That's not on her.
I think it just depends on the topic where that comes into play. I haven't seen Hurt Locker, but because of the type of film it is, you're dealing with a lot of male egos and whatever. You're dealing with a lot of guys, and you gotta be straight to the point. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
Hurt Locker, I think, was the first movie that I watched, and I noticed all of the handheld and the movement and the fluidity that I hadn't really seen in a movie prior to that.
It's a really nice rhythm that she sort of like created on her own. Like it's this nice this is how the movie goes, and you get to follow it in a different again, like as in a way that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, it seemed more personalized because she's moving right with you. And I don't know.
Is that almost like first person?
Yeah, kind of like you are.
Well, even I was reading something, and I don't know, for some reason I was I don't know why, but like I was at the place where like they filmed part of Point Break, and they were telling me that Kathryn Bigelow actually like would get on a surfboard and like go and follow Keanu Reeves like while he was like in the water.
She's like
she wanted to be right
she's a
there.
badass, but she's like an explorer. She's like a Magellan. That's you know.
Well, that's a good word.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, on that good word, we'll be right back. And we're back on Z-listers. So we were talking about Kathryn Bigelow. You know, we were talking about women in the industry. You have a very different perspective about being female gendered and working in this industry.
Yeah. So I mean, so coming from the film industry has a long history of being male driven. It's got like there's textbooks on it. You go to classes for it right now. And honestly, like only now, like I think I was approached like a few weeks ago for one of the first VR degrees that you could get, you know, like to be a VR a movie maker, to be a VR production. You know, it's like this is going to be one of the first degrees that's only going to be available next year. It's like a brand new program that's just started. So I mean, like, and honestly, so the people that are going to come into this world that have a degree are coming in a new age, and the rules of VR are not. The rules of VR, AR, cinematic filmmaking, volumetric filmmaking, anything that's not traditional 2D format or 16:9. The directors that are coming out of it right now are, you know, they're pretty equal. They're either they're female led, they're male led, they're just really, really open. I mean, like it kind of does characterize this day and age, and especially this day and age of being a much more of an equal playing field, in my opinion. Some of the ones that I look up to, like Noni de la Peña. You know, it's like she works equally with males and females, but I mean, like she is like a super powerful VR powerhouse right now with some of the things that she's creating. Samantha Gorman, in terms of some of her AR storytelling, you know, like these are the leaders that I'm looking forward to. I mean, like I'm seeing males as well, but at the same time, there doesn't really seem to be. When I walk into a room and I give my opinion on VR, I don't feel the same way that I do when I talk about 2D and 2D videos. I feel like I can walk into the room and I have just as much experience as everybody else, if not more. So I feel much more empowered and much more confident with what I say. And that's just something that I don't think I could do in the film world, because there's always going to be somebody that knows more than I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, like I think it's changing.
Interesting. Yeah,
it's changing. It definitely is.
Yeah.
When you put it in that perspective.
I mean, we are also looking at a whole generation of women who have been raised post, you know, the women's lib movement of the 70s. And you know, for me growing up, it was like I didn't know that other people's moms didn't work. I had no idea, and the housewife seemed like a very foreign concept to me. And I always identified with male characters. I always, I never not saw myself as like the center of the story. And it wasn't until I got into college or started working in professional capacity that I realized, oh, I'm missing half my history. Like I was not taught the women's movement. I was not taught, and I'm now, in ways that I never got in my like K through 12 schooling. I was learning, oh, the world is telling me that I'm female, and no amount of talent or no amount of pushing can overcome other people's biases. I do feel like that's the world that Kathryn Bigelow knows. She does, the stories that she does do are women in male-dominated professions. Yeah. With Blue Steel, you have Jamie Lee Curtis playing a cop, and then you have Jessica Chastain in Zero Dark 30. This is, and you know, she's always looking at male professions. I think she, in a way, the milieus that she's trying to dissect, if you will, are always these kind of like male, like the male clan, like the band of brothers. She's trying to dissect the power dynamics and the buddiness of that, because I'm sure she's trying to figure it out, and you know, not just figure it out, but understand why she's, you know, maybe that she's been excluded from it, or included.
Yeah, I like the yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm agreeing.
So
yeah,
we were talking about like Detroit and how she tackled that too, which is, I don't know if y'all seen it, but it's just it's a piece of its time, and like it's there. It's kind of what we spoke about in other episodes. Like it's present, and it's a tough one to watch, but just knowing that was directed by a female, and then another such masculine. I don't like to use racist, but it is a racist film.
Well,
it was it's impressive how she tackles that too. She really steps out and is like, I'm here, like you were saying earlier. I'm here. I'm gonna do this, and no one can really like tell me I can't.
Do you feel like, because I mean, like when Angelina Jolie was making the film about the Serbian and Bosnian conflict, there was a lot of, I mean, she's not necessarily a white savior, but she's an A-lister from abroad who's highlighting a story that doesn't necessarily feel like it has a connection to her. I mean, Kathryn Bigelow, she's raised to the U.S. I mean, it's part of our history. Yeah. But do you feel at all that it comes from an angle of like a white savior complex or anything?
It's hard for me because the directors that we were talking about, they all sort of have this variety of vulnerability that they're willing to present to you, whether or not you're willing to own that feeling that you get when you receive what they're trying to present to you. It's like, it's your choice, but know that this is where we've come from. So in Detroit, 1967 riots, right? Well, it happened.
Yeah, it happened.
Did it? And it's shameful.
Yeah. And there's nothing saying that like, oh, it's a disclaimer. By the way,
it doesn't define us, but it definitely defined a moment in our history. Yeah. And to be a director and to have that project, you get to help tell that story. Yeah. Now studios, I guess, come in more so. How did studios who have ownership over scripts manipulate the director's vision? I don't know how much they take away. But she's Kathryn Bigelow, right? Yeah. She's won an Oscar, so I'm sure she gets to tell the movies she wants to tell now.
Yeah, I'm operating under the assumption that any movie she's made after The Hurt Locker, even The Hurt Locker she produced independently. So I'm assuming that she has executive control over not just the creative decisions, but the content of her films. Yeah.
And good for her, because when we talked about M. Night, we were like, we don't necessarily like his stuff, and he can make a comeback with some of his. He's trying to make a comeback with his film, and as females, it's sad because in a time and age, if her film didn't make it, like her first one didn't make it, and it just tanked. Who's to say that she'd be where she, like, who even says that she'd get the chance to be where she is today to make another film, which is sad, but props and good for her.
But ultimately, all of us has probably been asked this question in our career, like, why are you doing this? Why do you continue to show up?
Because it's something that you love doing.
Yeah, and you can't see a life without it in it.
So like, all right, I'm going to take a big pay cut, Yeah. And you do what you love, because if you're not doing what you love, you're slowly dying.
You were telling she was like riding on a surfboard or something like that for Point Break. She likes it, man. Yeah. And her, the behind the scenes shots of her handheld in Zero Dark 30. It's just like she's like in her boots. She's ready to go.
She's in her element.
She's in her element. Like, this is her.
Apparently on Hurt Locker, she was building. What did I say? There, a camera purpose-built camera equipment to create the mobile shots that she wanted. Yeah. She helped. They put together devices in order to set a camera on it in order to create that.
Yeah. What she has a story to tell, and she
was probably behind that camera a lot of the times, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think she is. Every time I see her, like in a documentary, she's behind the camera doing something.
I like watching directors step behind the camera and shoot stuff.
Yeah.
When they're working, and not just behind a monitor. Overseeing it. I love when I see them come in, get in with the DP and sit behind it.
Well, I imagine that, especially even with VR, that's where it'll be going. Like, how many times have you seen something or and then tried to capture it with a camera, and you're like, oh, it's not exactly what I'm seeing. Yeah. I think at some point in the future, we're gonna have cameras that a director can put on their face. Even like a GoPro, but with cinematic capabilities, and they're just gonna walk around and shoot the movie with the actors.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens. Like my scene in my film and stuff, it's like I see what I want, and I talk to my co-director Ruben, and it's like, this is what I see. because one, I wrote the script, and so this is how I want it.
That came in your head. Yeah.
What do you think? We get on the same page, and if I feel that something needs to be tweaked right then and there, I'm like, all right, let's just tweak it. You know.
And that's what I like, because earlier you corrected yourself earlier, like as a female director, and it's not even as a director.
Yeah.
You know,
That's,
like,
I mean,
just,
yeah.
You know, as a director, like that's the life she lives.
And
That's what they do. Yeah.
And that's what I like about Kathryn Bigelow. The way that she sort of presents herself is she's like. She doesn't present herself as a female director. She's like, I am a director.
Yeah.
Like, gender is not a part of what I do.
Yeah.
It's not about gender. Like, stop making it about gender. And that's something that I try and do really powerfully in my thing. It's like, I'm a DP, and it's like, I'm not a female DP.
Yeah, you're just
I'm a DP. Like, if you call me a female DP, it's actually kind of annoying.
Yeah, and it's big too, because I've seen a lot of people, like, there's no more actor and actresses. Everybody's it's an actor.
As an actor.
Yeah.
I mean, I do try to apply a gender neutral term as often as I can to things. Just because I don't think that it's helpful to continue to talk about things in this non-binary way when we're clearly having a larger conversation about what it means to, be loving and be compassionate and be empathetic. Those aren't necessarily just female qualities. Sure. And the same thing with being, aggressive or being persistent or proactive. Those aren't necessarily just male qualities.
Yeah, right.
And so when we continue to talk about female directors as female directors, I mean, I really don't think that Kathryn Bigelow operates as, this Earth Mother, like that's not necessarily what she's bringing to the table. And so more and more, I think that it's with anything that differentiates us. Like, what brings us together is cinema, or what brings us together is wanting to tell human stories.
Right. But I think we're getting there. Our females, I think they're getting there. You see it now. You know, they're present. You're here. You know, and we, as a male, like I respect all of you. You know,
and I appreciate that on set as well. I appreciate having some people beside me being like, I can trust you.
Yeah.
I also appreciate when a man's like, oh, I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a great discussion about Kathryn Bigelow. We are Z-listers, but we have A-list opinions.
Yep.
We'll see you again next time.
Hollywood hills are greenish brown, and everything seemed to be so strange. Come from coast again. And everything seemed to move so slow. When I watch them, there they go. There they go. Walk around now, walk around my Hollywood hotel. They're so strange. My Hollywood hotel. And my cigarette half burned. The smoke dances around my hand. The church sign's gonna light the sky.